from Geotech Vision in Jamaica. Please. She will highlight the important role of commercial sectors to meet the local needs. Mr. Grant. Okay, you have floor, please.
Good morning, everyone. So mine is a pleasure to really speak to you about how we've been delivering impactful solutions locally. So you've all heard the phrase that knowledge is power, and it carries a thought that success depends much on really how much a person knows. But what we need to remember is that knowing is not understanding. And so while knowledge can be power, it has to be accompanied by some form of action. And so knowledge without action is therefore useless. So how do we build that ecosystem that really transmits the right kind of education in a clear and effective way that as it relates to geospatial and Earth observation? And how do we provide that access that is meaningful and uncomplicated in terms of providing the necessary information and data? With that kind of access and education, could it spur the entrepreneurial spirit that would result in the kind of innovation that we are looking for in our communities? Well, what we have come to realize is that there can be no true efficiencies in isolation. And so we need the village type approach to really get this to work. It is within that context that we believe that it takes strategic partnerships, it takes experts, institutional arrangements, and an environment that will allow us to solve the big challenges. And so some of the things that we've been looking at includes disaster management, environmental management, and developmental issues. And so I'll just give you some examples of the different ones that we've been using elements of Earth observation in. So for example, we have been looking at mangrove mapping in Guyana. And so Guyana has about 285 miles of coastline that in high tide, it's below sea level. And so these coastlines are being destabilized because of the reduction of the mangroves. So what has to happen is that there has to be a recolonization of these mangroves. And in so doing, aerial and satellite imagery was integral in both allowing to measure the baseline of what exists, as well as monitoring the progress of what was colonizing. And so it enabled the decision makers to gain new insights, to really have better economic and social environmental decision making as they went through. Another example is the whole matter of the shore zone management system. Again, along that coastline in Guyana, there is about 285 meters of seawall, sea defenses. Now, what is necessary is for the authorities to understand how it is that these sea defenses are operating. So they have what is called rangers, and these rangers, they have to go out, they have to examine. This application, using satellite imagery, coupled with other geospatial technologies, allow them to really do this from inside their offices, measuring the residual life and basically doing some elements of preventative maintenance. In Trinidad, we've been working with the land authority there, and it is allowing the farmers to better understand the kinds of issues that they're having and where lands are available. This is another application that we've been working with. Now, coral reefs monitoring, that is something that is very critical for the Caribbean, especially because the coral reefs are so integral in our tourism product. And so one of the things that the images allows us to do is to really monitor and recognize when there is pollution, when those sensitive ecosystems are being in trouble. We've also been doing a lot of baseline mapping in terms of the development and urban planning. as well as using the satellite imageries to create some land base from which we are extracting various products. One example is in Barbados when we've done that, and we're using it in environmental health department projects. Once we would have extracted the information, coupled with drone imagery as well, we also allow what one of our clients, the Ministry of Health, says is to not just do the vector control in a very sporadic way, but to be more targeted. Road safety is another initiative, and we go back to Guyana a bit, and what we've used the satellite images to really capture the information on the villages, understand what is going on, and do some time series analysis and come up with some of the elements that could be used in terms of really heightening road safety conditions in those areas. One of the areas of development that we pay particular attention to is with Jamaica Flying Labs and Geotech Vision. We have actually been having UAV summer camps. So we've been teaching the young ones how to really use these technologies to really understand, collect data about their environment, analyze that data, and to also spread the word to their peers, to their parents, about how the capabilities of these kind of observations and how they can use it to solve some of the unique local challenges that they are having in their very communities. And through these efforts, we have seen where there are groups developing like geo-explorers and other such that are mapping their communities. This past summer, we had a camp called Fly Like a Drone, Fly Like a Girl drone camp, the sky's the limit. And this was really geared of enabling young girls to really use drone technology in solving some of the local challenges in their communities. In terms of disaster management, being in the Caribbean, then this becomes a major issue because we're constantly prone with things like hurricanes. And so in St. Martin recently, there was, well, not so recent anymore, but there was Hurricane Matthew. And Hurricane Matthew really devastated St. Martin. About 6 months after that hurricane would have passed, then we were asked, in conjunction with the World Bank, to really fly some drone images. What that did is that we were able to capture not just the extent of the damage that still exists, as well as what was rebuilt on the island, but coupled with some street view images, then you could now start to understand stability of the different structures when you looked at the three-dimensional images and some other algorithms. So those are some of the ways in which we've been using this type of technology. Recently, there was Hurricane Dorian that really devastated the Bahamas. And so having the images from the weather forecasting station was really able to tell the general population what was taking place. So again, things that the general citizenry is benefiting from. Now, in the aftermath of that hurricane, then this is an image that shows what exactly took place over Abaco in Marsh Harbor in the Bahamas after the hurricane would have passed. And so again, another area in which Earth observation is being used. So it allows us to really get a holistic view of what is going on. And so there are several different interactive online services that are being coupled and used in mashups as we create different data products to satisfy the local needs that exist. But one project that I want to take a little time to talk about is a project that really brings a community together. And the reason for that is that we always think that it's impossible until it's done. And so what we're trying to do is to develop a community of professional mappers in the Caribbean. And that is an effort that is being spearheaded by a group called the GIRI Group out of the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine. And they're working with several of the organizations across the Caribbean and they're using the technology to make sure that we can accomplish some amount of rapid mapping to get the baseline information. Of course, satellite imagery is the base, and so we are extracting the fundamental types of data. So collaborations is occurring at the speed of trust in this situation. And so these are the collaborators that exist in that project. Of course, Geotech Vision is one of the commercial entities that is working closely with the project and making sure that we can use the technology that exists. The backbone for the project is the Esri technology. We are building footprints, road networks, extracting all of the different kinds of foundational data set for the different countries that exist, and we're making sure that there's a necessary verification and data validation that is taking place. And that is all happening all across the region, so everybody's sitting down, and this community of mappers is operating remotely, and they're taking it upon themselves to help different countries to really build out their data stock. And this is something that is not only being contributed to by academia, by volunteers, but by the commercial sector as well. So what we've come to realize is that the pillars of growth really for us in the Americas and specifically in the Caribbean is to have strategic partnerships to ensure that there is training and education and that it is customized to local needs so that it can solve the challenges that we face, as well as to make sure that we have new users that are onboarded as we go through and find applications that are fitting to the kinds of challenges that we face. We are hoping that with this, we're able to foster these kind of strategic partnerships and contribute to sustainable solutions that will give big local impact and solve regional challenges. We're hoping to develop and grow efforts to reach new users and communities, and that's one of the reasons we really focus on school-age children as well, because we recognize that they are the next generation. We want to make an impact on the SDGs and also to contribute to that, and we want to help to facilitate that increased engagement with small and medium-sized commercial organizations, hence our role in the private sector network of the UNGGIM Americas as well. And so while it is that commercial entities can play such an important role in terms of delivering the products and the services that are tailored to really meet the needs of the national and local needs, it's as important actors in this space and in creating value. We know that more can be done, and so we have been finding creative ways to try to get some of that more done, so to speak, including the involvement with the community of mappers. But a key challenge that we think that has to be addressed, and we are hoping that GEO can help to tackle, is the whole matter of empowerment of government institutions and the whole matter of financing for projects that can be piloted and scaled at the desired level to give the desired impact. And so those are our thoughts as to how we have been having local impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Very impressive work.